I would never do it. I craft any more rocks? No. Okay. I think it'd be overdoing it. It's fine. Alright, chat, just don't watch. It's really simple. It's fine. It didn't hurt. See? I told you. All right, thank you very much. All right, chat. So we're gonna do a little bit of Venti testing because I'm sure you guys are interested in this. So this is a C0 Venti, chat, right? C0 Venti. I have his skills at level 8 because level 8 it is Q. I'm gonna be using 4 Viridescent Banner. Just generically good gear. You guys can see these are the artifacts. This is the flower, feather. We're gonna be using an attack % timepiece, so we're gonna be lower on the recharge. A Nemo bonus damage cup, and we're gonna be using a crit rate mask for every single test. Every single test, right? Even if we use the Skyward Harp, we're still gonna be using the crit rate mask. So our stats are pretty generic, right? This is about 120% attack. We're using 61 crit rate, 123% crit damage. The base recharge that we have is 129%, and then we have 61.6 in Nemo, right? We're going to be testing... I guess we should do it like this. All right, we're going to be testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bows at least. Now, the question is, chat. Do we want to see Prototype Crescent and an R5 Rust? Because you really shouldn't be using these weapons on him. Right, from the story, you get at least an R1 Favonius. And I think it should be the baseline for the weapons. I really don't think that these two are useful. Like, he doesn't use any of this passive, and he doesn't use any of this passive, right? Blackcliff, I can see you using because that's a crit damage modifier, right? It's a pretty copium weapon if you already use your Favonius on Diona, for example. So I think this one is okay to use, and Viridescent Hunt is also okay to use. These two are 5 4-star utility bows, right? These are not damage-based bows. They're both energy recharge bows, but they have different passive stats. R5 Stringless is at level 90 because I level 90 this a long time ago. I'm not going to rebuild an R5 80 Stringless for this test. But you guys know that this is one of the strongest offensive weapons for Venti. He uses every single stat, and this passive is insane on him. We also have an R1 Elegy that we just have, right? And then we have R5 Skyward Harp and R5 Amos Bow, which are DPS Venti weapons. Right? They just do a shit ton of damage. They provide less utility. They provide no energy recharge for him. But they provide offensive stats. Elegy is support. Energy recharge bow. We get this huge wall of text. There's a massive wall of text for Elegy. Holy crap. I'm... Wow. Jesus. Okay. But yeah, a TLDR increases his elemental mastery by 60. And then whenever he uses a Q or E, or whenever anyone uses a Q or E, they gain a sigil every 0.2 seconds. When they reach 4 of them, so after 0.8 seconds of dealing damage every tick, or just in general doing damage. So this counts for Venti's Q, which it does a lot of ticks, right? All of them will be consumed, and party members will get 100 EM and 20% attack. Okay, so these are going to be... I'm going to be, based on chat's consensus, we are not going to be testing Prototype, not going to be testing Russ, because Favonius, which is a free weapon from the story quest, is better utility than both of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bows. He has Constellation 0. All right, chat, so with the Favonius bow, Venti is running 1400 attack, 121 elemental mastery, 61, 123 crit rate, crit damage, but 185 energy recharge. So with my artifacts, his energy recharge is through the roof. And not only that, but the passive will be able to grant more elemental particles. Okay? This is Favonius. And we're gonna just test out the damage and the swirl damage, okay? So we have 2 damage numbers we want to take into account here, chat. It's the Pyro swirl damage from Bennett. I should probably speed this up a little bit, but I'm gonna do it this way. Alright. So Pyro is applied. We do 1058 swirl and we do a 9k crit. 579 12. 9.5k crit and 1300 damage tick with 579 on crit. So it's 1.29 crit with 9.5k crit. And then a 1000 Pyro swirl. How much ER do you actually need for Venti? I would say 140 to 160. If you really want to infinite ult, then 180 plus. All right, chat. So this is Sacrificial Bow. Okay. Sacrificial Bow, if you guys notice, has higher base attack than Favonius. So if you want like more base attack, then there you go, right? So 497 versus 401, which means that his attack from 1400 is now 1583. 1583 attack, lower recharge, right? Instead of 185% recharge, he has 157% recharge. Still maintain the same crit rate, crit damage, and the same elemental mastery. The only thing that this changes is that he can E twice. So we will try to E twice, and we'll see how it goes. So we should be doing the same amount of swirl damage. All right, here we go. So same swirl damage, right? Let's see. 10,600, and I did it twice. You can see my energy. What do you guys think? Pretty good self-energy regen, I would say. I would say the self-energy regen is pretty insane because you get 2 E's, right? The damage is a slightly bit higher, and that's because the base attack is higher. The scroll damage is the exact same because the same EM. So depending on what you need, you can consider, right? Like which one you need. Okay, so those are the 2 utility bows with high amounts of recharge. And then we do Elegy now. So with Elegy, we have slightly higher base attack than the Sacrificial. At 1645, we have 60 additional elemental mastery, which will increase with higher refinement. So instead of 121, we have 181. The energy recharge is in between the Favonius, 5% below Favonius, but 22% higher than Sacrificial. Okay, so if you do manage to pull it, this is what it's going to look like. And the same crit rate, crit damage, right? So, all right. All right. So, chat, with 181 EM, 1,174 swirl with 11k. And this is 1,500, Okay. So, and his attack got slightly increased, and his elemental mastery got boosted by additional 100. So, you see the effects of the bow are pretty fast, right? 100 additional EM. 20% additional attack, so it's not that much stronger, but has more team utility if you care about that, right? It's like a free noblesse buff, right? So on top of having 4 Viridescent and Swirling, you can also get a free noblesse attack buff. A $200 noblesse bow, I guess that's what you can consider it as. Chat, I'm doing this so you can see, right, in action, how do these bows actually perform? Are they actually as good as they would be advertised? And you guys can make your own comparisons based off of the numbers that you see. Right? And the swirl damage, so. Moo Easy redeemed Booba! Alright, chat. Back to testing. Yes. So we begin the DPS bow test. We have 5 bows to test. We have Blackcliff, Viridescent, Stringless, Amos, then Skyward Harp. We're doing Skyward Harp last. Okay? Alright, so chat. Stats. 1583 attack. 61 crit rate, slightly higher crit damage, so we should be seeing higher crits. The base recharge of 129%, and then the base elemental mastery. Keep in mind that when we're testing Blackcliff Bow, it does have 0 stacks. As much as I would like to test him with max stacks or 2 stacks, which is kind of probably like about average, it's kind of hard to because I want to use the Cryo Redisfine as a basis of damage testing. And I can't really kill things before I do this. So just understand that the damage is lower because Blackcliff is not using his passive at all. So the swirl damage should still be about 1,000. So we did 12.2k crit with a 1663 crit. I mean, I think that's what we should expect, right? Higher base attack, higher crit damage, so higher overall ticks. And that is with 0 stacks. So with 24% additional attack, we can probably calculate. Let's see. So if we had 2 stacks, 2 to 3 stacks of Blackcliff, we get additional 24%, which would be about 168 attack. 168 attack compared to this is about a 10%, roughly, like 10.5%, I guess. So 10% attack buff, which means that his damage is about 10% weaker than what it could be with some Blackcliff stacks. So take that into account, right? The 12k crit would be maybe a 13.3k crit, and then the ult ticks might be 1800 instead if you had more Blackcliff stacks. So, yeah. The damage is obviously higher than the Elegy, right? but the Elegy has more supportive capabilities, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's not. You guys are gonna flame the Elegy bow. I already know it, but yeah. All right, chat. Back to testing. This time we're running Venti with the Viridescent Hunt, the BP weapon. We changed the mask to be crit damage in order to equate crit rate as much as possible for all the tests, right? So the previous test had about 61 crit rate. We're now at 65 crit rate, but we're using a crit damage mask. This makes the test a little bit more fair in terms of reading crit damage numbers as a comparison, okay? We have 1,500 attacks, so it's in between. Still 129 recharge and a default 121 elemental mastery, which means we should be doing 1k swirls. Okay. Have you already tried the Elegy? We have. We did it with the utility bows. So it was in the prior aspect of the... If you want to go back in the VOD, you can. All right, here we go. So Viridescent Hunt, 12.1k Swirl. I think that's equivalent to Blackcliff, yeah? And 1649. So this makes sense, yeah? Now we're into the big boys. All right. Next test is R5 Stringless. So with the Stringless, we have 1600 attack, 61, 123. We have a 287 elemental mastery boost. We have 129% recharge, but we have 61.6 plus 48% from the Stringless passive. Because elemental skill and elemental burst damage applies in the same column as elemental damage, right? So instead of 61.6, we are about 109.6%. Cool? No, swirls cannot crit. Oh wait, fuck, I need to regenerate my energy. Mr. Slice, you are not testing the infused elemental damage for Venti Q. You can basically see the damage from the swirl, right? The swirl gives you kind of a test. I can't do that for every single test, right? Take the swirl damage from the Q swirl, I mean from the E swirl, and then that is the expected infused elemental damage in comparison to every single other bow. That's how it works. Because it just uses your EM, right? It scales off of talent level. Let me see. Oh, I see. Well, I think that's fine, right? I don't see why this changes anything. This is just based off of his DOT versus elemental damage. So just take the DOT and divide it by 2. That is a hefty crit already. Okay, we have everything. We already can see the power of R5 Stringless before I actually do the test, but yeah. And we don't even see the swirl damage, chat. So it's the combination of the crit and the swirl. So we'll see. And you guys will see the comparison between the Stringless and the other DPS bows, right? Since you guys will be able to see the difference between an R5 Stringless and the R5 Amos and the R5 Harp. See the damage difference? And they're all level 90. So it's an equivalent comparison for these big beasts. Okay, so I already have the stats out. I don't need to show the stats anymore. I'm just going to go through it again just to make sure. So 1600 attack, 287 EM, 61, 123, 129 with 61.6. All right, so we need to also pay attention to the swirl damage because we have a lot more EM. We did not crit there, but 1357 swirl. We're doing 1900 crits here, and my E crits for 13.9k. So, quite strong. All right, chat. So, you guys are now witnessing. This is R5 Amos Bow, right? The passive is basically useless because you're not gonna be using normal and charge attack damage most of the time. But what we do notice is that his immense attack boost from the passive, right? From Amos Bow's passive. So instead, we have 2.2k attack, still maintaining 61, 123, and 129% recharge, 121 EM with 61.6. This is strictly a stat Bow, right? If you just want to do damage, then Amos Bow is fine. But let's see in comparison with the Stringless, right? So we did 13.9k Stringless crit with 1357 Swirl, and the ult ticks for 1900, I think. So, all right, here we go. So, how much? 14,662. So Amos Bow does about 5% more damage than R5 Stringless. Considering that one is a 5-star bow and one is a 4-star bow, you can see how strong the Stringless is, right? So 1900 versus 1990. So R5 almost stat stick is about 5% stronger, but it's R5. Wait. So R5 actually doesn't matter in this case. It's just the stat stick, right? So we see Stringless, 510 base attack, 608 base attack, but 50% attack versus the Elemental Mastery Swirl versus 48%. So we're talking a 48% damage boost and 510 base attack versus higher base attack and a 50% attack boost. So that's the comparison. Less swirl damage, obviously, but yeah. Okay, so that's it's actually stronger than I expected, because the refinement doesn't matter for Amos when we're testing Venti's Q and E damage. That's pretty good still. We've seen the utility bows as well, right? So now we got the Big Daddy. So with the Skyward Harp, we are using a crit damage mask to keep the crit rate at about 60%. And we're looking at 898, so 1898 attack, so almost 1900 attack. All right, so chat, we are looking at 1900 attack, same around 62.8 crit rate, 205 crit damage with the same recharge and elemental mastery. 61.6. All right, this is R5 Harp, so we're getting additional 40% crit damage instead of 20%. So if you had R1 Harp, it would be 185 here. He's C0 again, and then 188 talents, okay? Well, let's see. All right, so 17,457 crit with 2,300 additional procs. So that is on top of everything. That is 20% stronger than the Amos Bow. 20% stronger than the Amos Bow at R5. Which already was 5% stronger than the Stringless. And the E hit for 17,457. So, yep. And that is at R5. At R1, we would be having 180% crit damage. So you can expect the damage to go down by about 10%. But still insane. So if you wanted like, if you wanted the strength while also having the utility, I would use the Skyward Harp. But I would invest still in recharge of the substats and a little bit EM, right? Otherwise, for most gamers, Favonius for the utility, and if you have the Stringless, it's a good choice to run because all the stats it uses. So the only problem with these weapons is that no EM, right? Because no swirl, less swirl damage. But yeah. So that is all of the 8 bows, right? The triple utility, where we have Sacrificial for self-sustain, we have Favonius for team utility, and Elegy for a free noblesse buff. Slightly higher base attack, decent recharge, and elemental mastery for your team, and a little bit noblesse, yeah? And then we have the DPS bows, where we have Copium, Blackcliff Bow, Copium, Viridescent, which do about the same with equivalent stat exchange, right? Blackcliff will do a little bit more than Viridescent with more stacks, because we tested Blackcliff at 0 stacks. Stringless is obviously insane if you have the bow, and then almost is a good stat stick that we saw. And then if you have Harp, it's going to be just a strong bow, right? If you want the maximizing damage. Okay, this is about a 10%, roughly, like 10.5%, I guess. So 10% attack buff, which means that his damage is about 10% weaker than what it could be with some Blackcliff stacks. So take that into account, right? The 12k crit would be maybe a 13.3k crit, and then the ult ticks might be 1800 instead if you had more Blackcliff stacks. So, yeah. The damage is obviously higher than the Elegy, right? But the Elegy has more supportive capabilities, so just keep that in mind. All right, let's not You guys are gonna flame the Elegy Bow. I already know it, but all right. I'm still in combat for some reason. Let's move on to the Viridescent Bow. I feel like the Elegy is gonna get flamed. Like, why is this bow so poop? All right, so chat, Viridescent Hunt. So here's the weird thing about Viridescent Hunt, right? You guys are going to see slightly less damage, but you have to understand that I'm critting about 33% more often. It's very hard for me to get a... Let's see if I can do this, though. Let's see if I can grab a Viridescent Mask. I don't want to, but it might be better for testing. So what if I grab Xiao's Mask for now? How much crit rate will I have? Oh, this is actually pretty fair. That's actually pretty fair, huh? Because I'm maintaining about the same amount of crit rate. Right? It's 62 to 65%. So this is actually a pretty good comparison between the Viridescent Hunt and the Blackcliff Bow, because that's what you'd be doing, right? The benefit of the Blackcliff Bow, the benefit of the Viridescent Hunt, if we compare the two, and I want to show you guys, is that the crit rate is significant, because you guys know that crit rate in this game is valued at half the value of the crit damage, right? So 25% crit rate passive on the Viridescent Hunt would be equated to a 50%